and I can count start with a little sliced or diced onion, so it's important to learn the right way to cut them into uniform-sized pieces. Why uniform size? Well, if there's too much variation in size, you might end up with some onions that are burnt before others are even softened. In this video, I'll show you one method for slicing onions and another for dicing so that you get even, consistent results every time. First, let's talk slicing. Now I've got my onion on the board, and I think the most intuitive way to slice an onion is just to place it horizontally on the board, cut off the stem end, and then just start slicing. And this is a fine method, particularly if you're using the onion raw, like in salads, but you'll notice when you slice it this way, you end up with some pieces that are really big and some little half moon shapes that are really small. So these aren't gonna cook very evenly and they tend to fall apart in the pan. So if you're cooking your onion, I've got a better way to slice it. Move these aside. Rather than cutting your onion horizontally across the equator, turn the onion to face you and we're gonna cut from pole to pole, from stem end to root end. So the first thing to do is just remove that stem end and remove the root end. And you'll notice there's a little bit of core here at the root end, so you just wanna kinda notch that out, just like that. That can be tough. And now we're just gonna follow the lines of the onion, but instead of cutting straight up and down, we're gonna turn our knife and do what we call radial cuts. This is just like the spokes of a bicycle wheel or the rays of a sun. So we're gonna follow the angle of the onion, and this is gonna give us really even length slices. So just slice in, and I'm adjusting the angle of the knife as I go up the side of the onion. And eventually your knife will be straight up and down. Now at this point, once you get to the top, it can get a little bit wobbly. So you can just flip the onion over on its side and then again, start with the radial cuts. Now you'll notice all of these onion slices are about the same length. So they're all gonna cook at the same rate, whether you're sauteing them or caramelizing them or using them in a million other dishes. So I'm gonna set these aside and we'll move on to dicing. Okay, so for dicing, again, we're gonna start by cutting the onion in half. And so just a little onion biology. We've got the stem end of the onion, and then we've got the root end of the onion. And the root end is that hairy part. So to start, I'm gonna just trim off that stem end. And I'm gonna trim the root end, but I'm just gonna cut off those little hairs. I wanna leave that root intact, and I'll show you why that's important in just a minute. So just cut off just a little bit, and that way your board doesn't get dirty. So now this way, by cutting off that stem end, I have a flat surface to cut my onion in half. So this is just a little easy trick for slicing onions in half. And at this point, I peel my onions. You can peel it whole, but now you've got a little corner to pull back, so it's just a little easier to do it at this point. Okay, so onion starts on the board, and I'm gonna start with the onion facing me, with the root end facing away. And the first thing you're gonna do is a series of vertical slices through all of these different layers of the onion. But we're gonna keep that root end intact because that's gonna hold everything together. So just tip of your knife and you can cut straight down. Now, the thinner you cut these vertical slices, the more finely diced your onion will be. The wider they are, the more coarsely diced your onion will be. This is about a medium dice, I'd say. So after you've made your vertical slices, turn the onion so it's horizontal, and we're gonna do what's called a bagel cut. It's just a seesaw motion with the knife straight through the onion. And you can either do this once or twice, depending on how finely diced you want your onion to be. And you'll notice with this hand, you wanna keep this out of harm's way, so you can either put your fingertips right on top of the onion, or you can put your palm on the onion like this. Just make sure to keep the little thumb out of the way of the knife. So I'm gonna do one more, and then just start slicing down. And this is a nice medium-sized dice. Once you get to the end, you can just turn the onion on its flat side and do a few slices. And then if you need to go back and cut these last slices into a dice, you can do that. And there you go. You end up with a nice, even dice. This is the perfect starting point for soups, sautés, or whatever you're cooking.